Like every time I make these little videos, I'm always worried I'm gonna run out of stuff to talk about. However, there's actually quite a few things to cover for this month. I'll go in chronological order. It's been a long-standing tradition that the family goes camping around the 4th of July. My dad tells me this started with my grandfather. Used to be put on leave for the factory for about 3 months because there wasn't any work in the summer. So during that time, he got all the kids together and just went camping. And we've kept it up ever since. 3 generations, I guess that's a pretty big deal, isn't it? First, it was just the family, but then it's gotten a little bigger over the years. It's not only family, but friends of the family as well. Plus, you got different in-laws, different marriages. You got a lot of different people coming in. And in fact, sometimes we just get random people that wander onto the site because they smell the food. And there is a lot of food. That to have leftovers and not enough. That's always been my philosophy. I would always bring one of my friends along with me. It was just kind of a surreal experience because I'd been going there since I was like 3, I want to say. There's this one picture I have that I can remember being in the picture, but literally that is it. I get used to the wilderness, the stars, the trees, the fresh air, and all that other stuff. Well, my friend I brought was experiencing this all for the first time, and they're like, whoa, there's so many stars out here. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Well, this friend lives quite a fair bit away. We still get together every so often. However, it's been a long time since we were last able to go camping. The main thing is, with how 4th of July falls, both of us work now, so we can only really go up if it falls on a weekend. And even then, he's got a wife now, he's got dogs to watch out for, and just a lot of other things, so he can't just kind of pick up and leave. However, I was thinking about it, and I figured I would just pose the question to him and be like, hey, do you actually want to go camping again? Yeah, I think I could do it. And then after realizing that he accepted, I'm just kind of like, is this gonna be weird that he's sleeping over with a girl now? But then again, his wife knows who I am and knows I'm not really a threat to that. We've just been very good friends since about 6th grade. It was Friday that we got together. It would have been pretty late by the time I would have gotten up there, and there are a ton of deer that I don't want to run over by accident. So I figured it would be better just to leave that Saturday morning. We got together, and just for fun, I'm like, hey, you want to watch a movie? And he's like, sure. So I probably mentioned this movie before, the Mystery of Mamo. It's quite a ride. It's funny how it can be both very immature and yet very artistic at the same time. It's just a crazy movie I want to show to people and just see what their reaction is to it. But there is actually a fair bit of reflection in me wanting to show this movie to this friend. In junior high school, anything that was remotely related to sex, I was immediately repulsed by. Even if I saw something just a little too skimpy, I'm just like, oh, please, put some clothes on. And oftentimes the friend group would make fun of this. It's just kind of like, what's wrong with you? You don't like sexy women, you don't like nudes, you don't like this other stuff. And I'm like, no! Keep it away! In fact, even if there's too much swearing, I even got a little uncomfortable back then. Well, this movie has all of them. There's actually a lot of nudity in here, which is really interesting. And I remember even talking about this to my friend, and I'm like, I've certainly come a long way, haven't I? In general, I was really looking forward to this camp out. Last month I probably mentioned that I got this card from my aunt, and then I gave her a call kind of explaining my situation. And since she is the relative that talks to everyone, if she knows, then everybody knows. So it was rather exciting to be going camping as Julia this time. In fact, that was one of the other things I remember talking to my friend about. I'm just kind of like, I should probably use the women's room now, right? I mean, I've gotten confident using the women's room everywhere else, but I don't know. I feel like out in the wilderness, people are a lot more protective of their privacy, if you know what I mean. But after like the first few times of using the women's room, it was just kind of like, whatever. And thankfully, I didn't really run into too many people. Anybody I did run into, they're just kind of like, hey. And that was it. Just washing their hands, and they went from there. The main thing that worried me is that there were two other relatives that I wanted to tell myself about, and only really having about 2.5 days. It wasn't really a whole lot of time, and on top of that, they really keep to themselves, so I just didn't really have the ability to be able to tell them. All I can really say is, if you get a moment, there's something important I need to talk to you about. And that was it. These were probably some of the relatives I was the most concerned with. Hopefully this won't cause too much of a stir, but I think it's pretty important to mention. They're very fundamentalist in terms of, like, Christian beliefs. In fact, I was kind of surprised it went so well when I told my cousins about this, because I kind of figured they would have given me, like, a shower in holy water to try to exorcise my demons or something, but it went a lot better than I expected. However, I was a lot more worried about the parents because, well, they were very controlling people. And once the cousins left the house, they finally started to have their own identity. I figured that's why they were more accepting. About a week later, I was able to talk to my mom, and she was able to tell her everything that was going on, and she was able to tell them what was going on, and everything seemed to be perfectly fine. While we weren't able to see the fireworks, we were able to join in the famous celebration that we do every 4th of July. My uncle orders steak for everyone. We put it over the fire, and it's kind of made to everybody's liking. If you want it a little more medium rare, or if you want it a little more well done. I like it medium well myself. I used to eat it pretty much burnt to a crisp because that's the only way I've ever had it. And I hated how crunchy it was, and so I just simply said I didn't like steak. However, I had it medium well once, and I found out that my jaws didn't hurt because I was just constantly chewing it all the time, so that's always what I go for. Just a little bit pink on the inside, still cooked enough that I won't get sick from it, but not so much to the point that I'm eating charcoal. So the fireworks themselves, I had to drive back down for, and luckily I was able to get together with a few friends for that, and, well, they certainly put quite a damper on it. Like, maybe 10 minutes before the fireworks happened, they just started going off about politics and how, like, the United States is the worst country to live in, and I'm like, couldn't you wait until after the show? And then unfortunately the ride home wasn't much better. Right after the fireworks, they were just kind of like, this guy looks like I voted this way, this guy looks like they voted that way, and here I am just kind of like, could you please stop? You know I don't like talking about politics, which I made very clear to them on a few occasions. In fact, 2 of them know about my political background and knows what makes me tick. And they were ticking all those boxes. Probably the next major event to mention, it was a few members of the family as well as my sister, a few of her friends, and I getting together at this one bar that had like a whole bunch of other stuff. They had like food, they had like an arcade machine, stuff like that. It was all just kind of a way to see my older brother, which I rarely get to see. And plus, I'm a lot more accepting of myself now, so whenever anybody's just like, hey, you want to go out? I'm just like, sure, why not? Let's have some fun. Ordinarily, I would have been quite hesitant about this as, well, a lot of my family likes to drink alcohol, and I like to drink for taste, and I haven't really found anything that tastes good other than wine. And plus, I'm just not the kind of person that likes being hammered. I've seen the aftermath of it, and quite frankly, no thank you. It seemed like a relatively fun evening when one of my sister's friends got, like, really wasted. Everybody was just very surprised at this because everybody knew him. He wasn't that kind of person to just get utterly wasted like that. But as he was drunk, he was kind of talking to me, and I was a little uncomfortable about it because not only were, like, my relatives by the other table, but this was some rather sensitive stuff. I just wasn't all that prepared to be able to answer. Essentially, he was telling me that my sister, as well as her friends, are all kind of under the belief that I am transitioning to satisfy some sort of disturbed sexual fantasy. Now, I tried my best to answer a few questions here or there, trying to get whatever I could to get him to shut up. And even when I did answer a few questions, he would immediately ask them all again anyway. He just was in no state to be able to understand anything I was saying anyway. I was stuck with the task of having to take him home, and I was hoping maybe by then he would be a little more sane and I would be able to explain my story, so to speak, and just try to figure out what was going on. The main thing I couldn't stand about it, and wow, it hurts just to think about it. We were trying to figure out where he lived so I can drop him off, and all the relatives were just kind of like, oh yeah, he will drop him off, dead name will do this, dead name will do that, dead... And I'm just like, shut up, I am taking him, I will figure this out. I know you're just getting used to this idea, but you have no idea how much salt you're sprinkling over me right now. So I took him home, and he was still quite out of it. It's almost like I was talking to a 5-year-old for the most part. He was like jumping, he was happy, he was like, oh, how you doing, buddy? And that was kind of the other thing as well. I may have mentioned that I'm a bit more used to the idea of being hugged now. I kind of like it, but the way he was just kind of holding my arm, I'm just like, get away from me. I am not comfortable with this. Don't touch me. I thought I was getting more used to the idea of being touched, but I guess it was just more in the idea that I didn't consent to it. So I kept this event just kind of in my head and wanted to talk to my sister about it, see if either he was so drunk he was making all this up, or if my sister as well as her friends genuinely believed this. It was a lot of back and forth, and there was one night my sister texted me, and it's like, okay, I'll be able to talk tonight. And so I was waiting. I received the message at maybe like 9:30 or so, and I like to go to bed at 10, but I figured I would give it a few minutes because this is important. I didn't get anything until I sent her a message at 10:45. And I said, are you still willing to talk? And she said, I went to dinner. Sorry about that. Couldn't you tell me? You said you were available to talk. Why would you do this? Would you be able to talk after the dinner? What's wrong? You need to talk to me about something important? I told you I have to talk about something. So I went to bed at like 11:30. Not only enraged from that, but while I was waiting around, I was just kind of trying to get some voice practice in when I was attacked by a few transphobes on the voice training server. Sometimes a few things slipped through the cracks, and I just got like no sleep that night because the whole time I'm like, how could she do this? How can people be so cruel? I can't stand this world. Stuff like that. The next day I was able to get some answers, and they were not good. So what she told me, maybe some of you have seen it, but I made this one video years ago. Like, I thought I knew what I was talking about when it came to being transgender. There's this theory which seemed to fit most of what I had at that time. And it turned out that this video basically got spread to all the relatives, and it was just the worst news possible because I thought I was doing good. I thought they accepted me. Everything was fine. And now they all believe I am becoming a woman because I'm satisfying a deep-seated sexual desire. Ugh. I know I should have deleted that video sooner, but part of me just couldn't. I mean, it was a mindset of where I was at the time, and it felt like it was very important, but I had no idea people would be taking it as gospel. And so hopefully this Thanksgiving I'll be able to straighten out that mess. There were a few other really important things as well. So the first thing, a few days ago I had to do a warranty call for work. Usually it's something I like to stick through with the text so that way I can work on a few other things on the side. Well, once again it was down, so I had to resort to a telephone call. And I prepped myself a lot for it. I tried to do all the exercises that I could, tried to speak in a more feminine resonance the whole time, and it just sounded very crackly to me, and I didn't really like the sound of it that much. But I didn't want this assignment to wait any longer, so I just kind of went for it. Right away, I knew there was going to be trouble because the person on the other end could barely hear me. Like, as you can tell, I feel like I'm doing a halfway decent femme voice right now, but it seems like the closer I get, the less people can hear me. And this is one of the reasons I seem to drop in resonance, because that's the only way my voice will carry. But I tried my best to maintain the voice, and the whole time the agent was calling me ma'am. This is the first time anybody has gendered me properly over the phone, and it's exciting. And on top of that, I didn't think I was doing that good of a job with it either, but it was enough. It worked. It's so much better than the other calls I get where they're just kind of like, "Oh yes, one moment, sir. Sir, are you okay? Sir, you're back on the line." Stop calling me, sir! Another really big thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last video, but essentially I was over at a friend's house. So this friend of mine has a fiance that she wanted to do a lot to be able to clean up a few clothes that she had hanging around. And she offered to give some to me. Yeah, I'll take them. give me whatever you want. And so she set out a few things that she figured would be in my size, and I got quite a haul. It was fun. In fact, at first I was just trying them on, seeing how they fit, and she knocks on the door and says, "Hey, you know, how about you give us a little bit of a fashion show?" And I'm like, "Okay." And so I did. I just kind of walked around, and every so often they're just like, "Oh, that dress looks fantastic on you," or other stuff like that. And then there's other times I come out there a little less confident and be like, "I don't know, these seem way too big." And she's like, "Yeah, that's kind of how clothes can be." And I was able to get quite a lot of things there, and it was utterly fantastic. That's one of the things I like about that couple the most. I feel like I could just be myself around them. They were probably one of the first few people I ever felt comfortable wearing a dress in front of, being able to dress up more femininely, being able to do stuff that was just a little more female presenting. They just make me feel very comfortable, and I really appreciate them for that. But even though I felt really comfortable around them, there was just still a part of me that was used to hiding this for so long that it almost felt like I was doing something wrong and dressing up so prettily and showing off even. I still don't really know how to explain that emotion. I should probably mention though, this dress I'm wearing right now, this is not what I picked up from her. This one I actually bought quite recently, and I need more dresses. This is fantastic. I love these. And this leads into my next fun little talking point. So, it's a very stereotypical thing, like for anybody that's transitioning to a more feminine. The big goal is to be able to have a dress that can twirl. I'll just play a little video right here so you get an example of what that is. And that's what this dress was able to do. And then I know the fun stereotype that people say about those transitioning. So, a lot of people have really big phones these days. I mean, look at this. It's just about as big as my hand. And so it's always the goal is to be able to take the phone and put it into a pocket that nobody can see where in the world the phone is. It's in the pocket, but there's no way of seeing it. One of those things I'm kind of annoyed that I have to give up being a woman, but I guess it's kind of worth it in order to be able to wear cute things. Usually what happens is you get like a pair of shorts like these, for instance. So, put the phone in, and you'll notice that it just doesn't really fit in there just right. You can kind of shove it, but it's very obvious that there's a phone in here. There are others where you pretty much have to put it in the back pocket, because if you don't, well, probably about this much of the phone is sticking out, which means if you bend over, or if somebody's willing to steal it, it's just yoink. And then probably one of the other things I just absolutely can't stand about women's fashion. You think that these pants have pockets, right? Wrong. I can't get anything in there. It's just sewn in to look like that. Who wants the look of the pockets without the function? I can't even get the phone in there. So I'm at the mercy of having to wear a purse or something. Which in a ways, I don't mind too much because it's very obvious that I'm a woman at that point, but I don't know, it just seems like something somebody can just easily go, mine. You may have noticed that I got my nails painted again. Last time I went for a gel nail, which is something that'll last a lot longer, but I found in the drying process my nails have gotten a lot weaker, like they just kind of shard and just fall off now. So this time I just went with straight polish. It's just paint, and you can kind of tell they're already peeling off already. But at the same time, aside from maybe a few sharp edges, I haven't really had anything flake off yet, so that's a plus. And I'll end with this. I was on that one voice training Discord where basically just kind of doing a fun little impromptu lesson, get a little practice in, stuff like that. When one of the members talks about this one manga that I found very interesting. The premise, so it's a brother and a sister, older brother, younger sister. The sister is just brilliant in just about every aspect whatsoever, and she wants to become a doctor. And oftentimes she runs little experiments on her older brother. This time, though, she turns him into a little girl. Probably the thing that's really fascinating about it is, yeah, it just sounds like another premise for a gender swap episode, but this is something that lasts for quite a while. It takes like several months in order for the medication to start wearing off. And along the way, you can kind of see he likes it. And if the comic did nothing else, it made me appreciate my curly hair. Essentially, I just wanted straight hair. I wanted something that would grow down instead of out. But the joke I always go for is, well, now I have hair that matches my sexuality. Not straight. It just always kind of annoyed me. But in that comic, so the now little sister, which used to be the big brother, has like very long, flat hair. And so she has to go to a salon in order to take care of it. Which he actually cares about that now. However, he gets bored real easily with the hairdresser and starts the knot off. And when he wakes up, he finds that he got a perm and talks about how bouncy and how curly it is, and I'm just kind of like, no wonder why people like this. I just have that naturally, don't I? Oh yeah. It is kind of soft and fluffy, isn't it? And on top of that, I found there was just a lot of sections that were very relatable. Like, for instance, it's a very hot summer day, so he starts braiding his hair. And then the sister walks in. Oh, how cute. Look, I'm just doing this because it's a hot day, okay? Alright. Well, do you want me to, dress it up a little bit? Sure, let's do it. Wait, no. Somehow it's unnatural. I've almost kind of fit into this role a little too well. And in a ways, I found that to be one of the most relatable sections. Not to be like, I'm afraid I'm fitting into the female role as well as I am, but it's almost like there's just that little bit of infighting still. There's still the part of me that wants to be seen as strong, which is considered a very masculine trait. But I definitely want to be seen as a beautiful woman as well. So there's just kind of a little bit of a struggle between the two there. Just like this character in the manga. Wow, this actually turned out to be a pretty long video, so I think I'll end it here. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. But once again, steer clear of politics. I've just had too much of it in my life as of now, and I can't stand it anymore. Until next time, be yourself. No matter who that is.